Hi, everyone. It's Kelly Scott Reed, and welcome to A Word with Kelly Scott Reed. We're here today with Michael Tager. He is a managing editor of Mason Jar Press and a writer and editor, and very hilariously, he is mostly vegetables. Hi, Michael. Welcome.
Hi. Hi, thank you so much for having me.
It's a pleasure. Thank you so much for reaching out. One of the things we love to do at Roffagnon Press is get to know authors, what makes them tick, what their processes are. It just helps to form a community. We think that it brings people together. It helps people with their writing to find out how some tricks or things other people do in the course of how they produce what their art is. Um, and you're coming to us from Baltimore, the lovely city. Are you close to the water?
I mean, in Baltimore, it's hard to be too far from the water because we have a couple of like streams and we have rivers and the bay. So I'm far away in the way that you mean it, but there's a nice river just 5 minute walk from here.
Oh,
It's a
that's
little
cool.
one, but it's fun to go and walk toward.
Awesome. And now, Mason Jar Press, could you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, absolutely. So we've been around for, gosh, about 7 years. It's hard to say exactly because it was one of those organic kind of evolutions. It started as I asked a friend in my grad program to help me put out a chapbook. I just wanted to self-publish something. And he's a designer and everything. And we had a really good time doing it. So we decided to kind of keep going. And so 7 years later, we have, I think, 25 authors, 30 books. We've got about 5 in production. We're currently reading for a prose contest. We've got a distributor. We're having a really good time, and we publish fiction, nonfiction, and poetry. That's all. We call it the accessible avant-garde. Like, we like it weird, but not so weird that anyone can't pick it up and read it.
That's really cool. I really like that concept. I would have to clean up a lot of my work to submit it to you. No, I'm kidding.
You
I
have
don't know how
time.
accessible it is. Well, thank you so much. That's good to know. Now, we're just going to ask a few questions. I'll start. Could you describe a time in your life when you realized that language had power?
Well, that is, I remember it was about maybe fifth grade, I believe it was. And we had an assignment well, the teacher called on me and asked me to read my assignment. And I said, I don't actually know what you're talking about. And she said, oh, this short story that you were supposed to write. And I went, oh, right, that short. Yeah, that assignment, totally. And so I just started making things up. I pulled out my binder and just read blank. I was reading a blank page, but I was just making things up as I went. The only line I actually remember is something about a homemade rocket launcher. I don't remember anything else, but the class, there's a bunch of fifth graders, and fifth graders are stupid. And they all laughed really, really hard at that. And I was like, oh, okay, maybe I have a little something in here. Maybe if I can make everyone laugh, I'm going to kind of chase that feeling. I didn't know what heroin was, but if I did know what heroin was, that was it. That was kind of, it was me chasing the dragon. And I don't know if I've ever quite gotten there since, but I've come close.
I love that. I have a similar experience. I was in high school though, so I should have known better. Where I was in a school, I was in a play, and I had forgotten completely about an assignment that my co-star in the play and I were partners doing, and we realized, oh no, we have to do this. And we went to a Catholic school, and we had to do it on the spiritual realm. So we couldn't figure out what to do. So we just took props from the play and just went up and kind of ad-libbed, like, here's the hair of a dead person. Here's a picture of Liberace. He's passed away. That was our presentation. We
That's
were not
amazing.
good.
Yeah, well,
And we were
I'd like
far
to.
old.
I'd like to say that was the only time that's happened was in fifth grade. I could say it. I would be lying very I'd be just be lying a lot if I said that was the only time that happened. So I see you, Kelly. I see you very clearly.
Awesome. What do you feel the most important elements of good writing are?
I kind of think that I don't think there's really a good answer to that because I don't know if I agree with the question. You know, I mean, there's so much writing. So one of my favorite authors, writers, is actually Roger Ebert. He's if I could channel anyone, I would channel Roger Ebert. And one of the kind of tenets in his reviews is that he judges each piece where it is. He doesn't compare, Au revoir las infantes to, a slasher movie because they don't speak to one each other. They're not using the same DNA. He compares them within the genre and what they're trying to accomplish. And there's so much writing out there that is so fun and good and clear and doing what it's trying to do that I try to judge each piece kind of based on that, including what I'm writing. I just read, oh my God, I'm doing this book club with my wife, and we just read the first book of the Vampire Diaries. It's like came out in like the 90s, it's middle grade, and it's real simplistic and not that, and I loved it. I thought it was great. It was doing exactly what it was trying to do. And it was having a good time and trying to speak to people at a very particular level. And so was that good? I don't know if it was good. I don't know if it was bad. I know I enjoyed it, and I was surprised. I was surprised by a couple different elements that came up in it, and like in tone and some words. And that's really, I think, all I'm looking for is I don't want to be bored. I want to read something new, whether or not that's in how it is actually written, like the actual style, or if it's plot points or anything like that. Just don't bore me. And I'm trying not to bore myself. When I'm writing, I'm like, I've written something like this before, or I've used this character before. I need to switch it up. So, and plus, and along with that, sorry if I'm kind of going far afield,
Oh, it's
but
interesting.
we're all so trained by the canon, and our ideas of what's good are just kind of implicitly based on Melville, as you brought up earlier, And I don't know, fuck Herman Melville. Like, he's great and all, but I'm so tired. I'm just so tired of it. And trying to kind of break out of that and read and appreciate and writing that is outside of it. It's fun, but it's I don't know. Yeah. Did I answer the question?
Exciting you right now? Is there anything, the Vampire Diaries, but anybody in particular that you are excited by?
Yeah, I'm not excited by the Vampire Diaries. I enjoyed the first book, and I gave it, I don't know, 3 or 4 stars on Goodreads because it made me happy. I'm not reading the second. I'm good. Oh gosh, is there anything exciting me right now? Is that what you asked?
Yes.
Oh man, I mean, yeah, I met this, I followed this person on Twitter, on Andrea Stewart. She writes middle grade yet YA fantasy, and I read her first book, kind of along the lines of, hey, I know this person, I'm going to buy her book, and I just loved it. I read it in like 6 hours or something like that, and this was back in January, and I couldn't get it out of my head. Like, I kept on thinking I wanted to know what happened next in the trilogy. So yeah, I bought it, and like, I wouldn't call and I mean, I love YA and fantasy, and so that's kind of right in my wheelhouse. So that's really exciting. And then obviously all the authors that I am publishing are clearly brilliant, and I'm incredibly excited about them. But Sarah Littman's book, which just came out in March, it's tremendous, and I loved working on it, and I'm really looking forward to getting it more out into the world.
So for you, does writing energize or drain you?
For me, writing is sort of like working out, in that I get a massive energy bump while I'm doing it, and then for the next like couple hours, and then I sleep like a baby, for 14 days. I need to get it out. So while doing it, I'm very, very amped, and it's sort of like going to a punk concert, which I have not gone to in a really long time. So it's a weird analogy, but that's sort of how I feel about it. Is it's really exciting, and I want to just bop around. The editing process has a tendency to bring me down, not in a bad way. I enjoy editing, but it does not give me that same burst of energy that writing does. Writing, like I said before, I'm constantly chasing the high.
Now, how long do you usually devote to your writing, like on a weekly or daily basis?
Oh, that's a really key question. Because right now, none, absolutely none, no, zero. And part of that is the editing and publishing, because I'm doing that. I probably do between the press, and then I'm the fiction editor at JMWW. Okay. So between those two things, I don't know, probably dropping 20 hours a week into editing and publishing, plus freelance. And then, I work and I have a kid and the semblance of a social life. So if I wasn't editing or publishing, I would say probably 20 hours a week I'm devoting. I've been fiddling with a story for like the last 2 weeks or so, and I'm not like super energized about it. But for 2020 and 2019, 2021, I had a goal of writing one short story or one short piece a month, and that included essays, or, I occasionally write poetry. And I would say, and I was really good about that. I wrote one thing a month for 3 years, so I had a pretty big body of work. And I would say, probably about 10 to 15 hours a week was spent on writing and editing my own work until recently. I've been dead. I've been trying.
I really think that that's kind of like a common theme, right, Tiff, amongst the editing group. Like you're reading, and you're reading so intently for so much that you're like, okay, now do I have anything left? And then I go, did I already read that somewhere? Should I be writing about that? Am I plagiarizing? I may have just read it somewhere else. Got this great idea. Oh wait, no, that's just been submitted.
Yeah, and I don't know about you, but I always feel like a little bit bitter not bitter, that's totally the wrong word, because I chose this life and I love this life. But I read so much writing as an editor, not as a reader. So, all these books I've published, I joke, but I'm not really joking, that I've never read any of them. Obviously I've read some of them 3 or 4 times, but I've never read them as someone who's sitting down to enjoy it, who's actually kind of getting lost in it. I'm reading it on a very technical level, or just a technical level. That works fine. Trying to shape it up instead of allowing myself to savor it. So, and that adds another kind of layer to the energy spent, because I'm not even able to, because I don't know about you, when I'm done a good book that I feel really energized about, that makes me want to write so much more. But when I'm editing in this or reading in this other way as an editor, I don't get the same energy. I'm purely putting that out. I'm not taking it in.
Now, what inspired you to start writing in the first place? Like, from going from someone who forgot about the project to being someone who dives into the project. What inspired you to do that?
I've been thinking about that ever since you sent me the question. And I'm pretty sure at one point I knew the answer to this. And I mean, I definitely wrote fan fiction of video games back in probably like fifth or sixth grade. My mother even has one of them that she put in a box and showed me. And I read it, and it was terrible. But for a fifth grader writing fan fiction, it was really good. And and it was based on a video game, so I had a lot of onomatopoeia because I think I was also watching the old Batman show, with Adam West with the thwack pow. So it definitely had thwack in there at some point, which I'm super into. So that was the first time I remember doing it. But I remember when I graduated college, I called myself a writer in college, and I don't know, I was one of those pretentious dudes who I'm such a writer, but I didn't write anything. I think I finished 3 pieces in 4 years, and I was like, I'm going to not write for a while because I'm not coming up with anything. It's just all suburban white dude ennui wish fulfillment stuff. Like you've read it, you know what I'm talking about, and you've read a lot of it in the slush. And I was like, this is not good. So I kind of put it away for a while, very deliberately. I was like, I'm not going to even try to write until I do things, because I hadn't done anything.
Mm.
And when I went back to get my second bachelor's, I got a second degree in psychology when I was 29, I think. I decided to take a creative writing class for funsies because I was also taking business statistics, and I was like, that's gonna take up a lot of my time. Turned out I love statistics. Who knew? But
Oh, wow.
oh my god, I love statistics. I work in data. I mean, I didn't. It's one of those routes. Who knew? But like the first day of class, the professor who I'm blanking on his name right now, even though I have like 4 of his books in the email all the time. He came in and he was just kind of like, all right, let's talk about this book. And we went around and talked about the book and how it impacted the writing. And I went, oh, wait a second. I love this. I'd forgotten my kind of promise to myself to come back to it. So that kind of like inspired me to go back and get my master's and all that jazz. So that's a really long-winded way of saying, I don't know. Sometimes.
Oh, I love that answer. You write kind of just because I wanted to entertain myself. That's kind of it's in the heat of boredom is when I get inspired to write. So when I have like a little backlog of work written, I'm getting paid at work to sit there and I'm just sending short stories. But that's what inspires me. I have to have my plate clean, my mind's clean, which is very rare because I'm always overbooked. Yeah. So about coming back to it, it's interesting because I come back to it when there's a lull in my life, in my general life, like you, kids and all those shenanigans.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I feel kind of itchy when I haven't done art in a while, So I think it might just come from a place of I need to create art at some point, and I don't really care what it is. I mean, I went to a panel once at a book conference or book festival, and it was fantasy and sci-fi writers, because they usually have, I don't know. I like how fantasy and sci-fi writers think. They know the nuts and bolts and they know the fun. Anyway, the question was about money. Like, how do you get paid? And all 5 or 6 of the panelists rolled their eyes, and they were just like, dude, if you're trying to get paid, you're in the wrong field. And what one of them said that I have kind of carried with me is, in my opinion, there's 3 reasons to write. One is that you want to get paid, in which case, good luck being Stephen King. We haven't done it. We all have day jobs. but if you can do it, super. Two is that you just need to create, and the end goal doesn't matter. You just need to write, and that's great. And three is you just want people to read your work, and you want to communicate with people and have some kind of an effect on them. And I am not number one, obviously. So, and it's some combination of two and three. Is like sometimes I need to create, and that's sometimes I'll just make a chat book for no particular reason and self-publish it, and it's a fun project. But I also really want people to react to what I'm writing or saying. More writing. I actually don't really care what I say. As I'm giving you the deal.
I think I do it for number three, just communication. It's always between friends, what I've done prior. Like, I will write, for example, an obituary for somebody, or I will write a eulogy, or I will write a poem for someone's birthday, or a song, or something like that. I've never really just sat down and go, let me tell this story. It's always inspired by something someone's told me, a name, a joke, a situation. So it's always to take something someone has said to me and make something out of it, almost for them. All my stuff that I wrote was for people at work to have fun with because we were bored, that kind of thing. I like to do things like that. That's interesting.
I love that.
Those three things.
Yeah, feel free to write my epitaph if you want to. Okay. Knock yourself out with that one. That'd be amazing. If you write a really good epitaph, like really good, I promise you I will put it on my tombstone.
Uh-oh.
You have to come super correct.
Okay, now I got a challenge. I'm actually putting this down. What to work on when the phones are slow tomorrow, guys. That's what I'm going to do. And I'll send it to you. Oh my gosh. Do you have any literary heroes?
I mean, I mentioned Raj, Mr. Ebert. I read one of his articles or one of his reviews earlier today on When Harry Met Sally, because I was watching When Harry Met Sally. Some other ones. My gosh. Again, I've been thinking about this one for, days of like, who are my literary heroes? And I mean, I have favorite authors and favorite writers, but heroes is kind of an odd word, a lot of the poetry I write is about pop culture people who I really like, like I wrote poems about Taye Diggs and Patrick Swayze.
Taye Diggs is from our hometown. He's from Rochester, where we're from.
I have a
Taye Diggs story to tell you.
That's amazing. I'll send you my poems. They are very sexual. And
love it.
I mean, it's Taye Diggs. How could they not be sexual? I mean,
my God, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't really know if I have a satisfying answer for that. I have authors that inspired me, like, C.S. Lewis was one of the first authors that I really got into in the first or second grade is when I started reading Language to the Wardrobe. But I wouldn't call C.S. Lewis my hero. I would say that his books had like a really big impact on me. I've recently, like in the last 10 years, gotten into, Toni Morrison, but again, that's like the last 10 years, and I love her work, but like how she does it is just, I don't understand how that's good. But hero, I don't know. So I'm just gonna have to stick with Raj, Mr. Ebert.
I love it.
He's a terrible novelist,
Oh.
He'll admit it. He's terrible, and he's a terrible screenwriter. But when he stayed in his lane,
was that The Valley of the Dolls?
Yep.
That he did.
Return to the Valley of the Dolls.
Return to the Valley of the Dolls. Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, but like, I mean, Homeboy won a Pulitzer Prize in film criticism. No one else did it before him. Like, they gave it to him because he was that good. And
did you see? You've obviously seen the documentary about him at the towards the end of his life.
Not. I know it exists, but I haven't done it. I read his autobiography, life itself. And I was like, ah, it's good enough. I just
It
haven't
it
gotten around to it.
is, but you should see it. It's
I
pretty
know.
moving. It's incredible. I can't remember when I saw that, but it was ages ago. Because I am a very big fan of his as well, and of course, Siskel and Ebert. As a kid, I watched religiously because I love film and love critique. So yeah, that's incredible. You should see it. I love it. I highly recommend it.
All right,
Get
I'll
your
watch it.
wine.
I'll watch it. I'll watch it and I'll report back to you.
Awesome. That's great. Well, Michael, this has been awesome. You are so wonderful to speak to. It has been really
Thank
my
you.
pleasure. It was worth the wait. It really was.
Thank you again for, for I know things are going on. Everyone gets it. I do not like flaking. Yeah. I had like heart palpitations, even though like I
Oh.
knew no one died. It's fine, but I don't dig it. So anyway, thank you so much. And
Oh well, we are so thrilled to have you. And again, anytime we'll keep in touch. We really will
absolutely,
because I think that this has been a great conversation. Thank you for joining us.
thank you.